What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. On today's episode, we're going to continue project CB9 5-speed conversion. We're going to do the final installment of all the interior aspects required on this conversion process. So as you can see here, we don't have the center console in place just yet. So we need to make the necessary modifications on the automatic console, install new shift boot, install new shift knob. So let's go ahead and show you the necessary steps in order to make those modifications. Let's go ahead and take a closer look. Fresh delivery from Poland. Here's our custom shift boot that I ordered. This is specific for the CB7 Accord. They have other makes and models available, but you basically specify what you want for leather options: smooth leather, perforated leather, suede, Alcantara, etc., etc. So just tell them what you want and tell them what kind of stitching you want. So I went with the perforated leather with red stitching because that's the steering wheel I plan on getting for this car. But it looks like it's a pretty good product. It actually smells like leather on the inside, and it's rawhide, so I don't believe that this is actually vinyl. It's really thick, so I'm actually pretty pleased with this. I believe I paid about $45 after a 10% discount. So I'll go ahead and leave the link below on that. Anyways, in order to get this installed, we've got our shifter console. We got our shift boot retainer. This is specific for 5 speeds. Got the 2 mounting screws right there. And this is a shift boot retainer. So on the factory setup, so this is a shift boot from a 93 to 97 Accord. It's very similar, but as you can see here, it's a plastic boot retainer. So as you can see, the manufacturing process got cheaper as the cars got newer. Anyways, 90 through 93 is the same way for this retainer. So you've got the factory shift knob, and it basically has 2 tabs on it. It just kind of clicks down into place. But what we're gonna have is a custom retainer, because we're putting a custom shift knob on there to match some custom wheels, but we'll get into that later. I'm not gonna reveal what's coming for that. So this is our shift boot retainer. Got this on eBay for, I don't know, about $12. It's metal. It's got some threads on there, and it locks on the bottom portion of the shifter itself. And the tools needed: Phillips head screwdriver, wire cutters, tie strap. Now, in order to get started first, we're gonna take this shift boot and we're gonna kind of push this top here inside out. So what we need to do is, when it's inside out, we're going to take our shift boot retainer here. We're actually going to tie strap the inside of this boot to this little recessed area right here. So let me go ahead and show you what we're working with. Okay, shift boot retainer and shift boot is now installed onto one another using the tie strap. Now the next step is we're going to take this metal retainer with these 2 screws, and we're going to mount it inside our shifter console. So we need to flip this over and mount it in there. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to designate the double side of the stitching on the back, just so I have that visibility when I'm driving. I don't really want to see just, one single stitching. I think this is a beautiful shift boot, so I might as well illustrate, both stitchings. So basically, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that those stitchings are as close as possible in the corners of the shifter console itself. And then we take this metal ring, lock it in position, and take those 2 screws. And there's 2 little holes right here that locks in position. So let me go ahead and show you how this works. check out that level of quality compared to the OEM. OEMs are going to be like a very flimsy vinyl. It's very thin material, very cheap. I mean, this is very sturdy leather, very thick to work with. So this will hold up a lot longer and look a lot better than the OEM stuff. But now you can go ahead and try to use an OEM shift boot on your install. It's up to you, but trying to find one in great shape is going to be very tough because of how thin these are and how beat up and, you know, how old these things are getting, you know, 28 plus years old. So, you know, it's up to you of what you want to use. I mean, you could reuse this if you want and clean it up, but, you know, this one's got like holes right here and starting to get tears and stuff. So, I mean, for $45, I mean, it just makes a lasting impression on the inside of the car. So, next step, let's go ahead and mount this console in the car and I'll show you how this works. All right, here is our assembled front portion of the center console. And here's the rear portion. Now is a good time to clean these items up because over the years, I mean, this cavity had a bunch of crap in there, and same thing with here, and then inside this parking brake area. So just take some Simple Re and some paper towels and just wipe these parts down thoroughly. Anyhow, the way that these mount up together is just basically 3 mounting tabs, and this back console will sit right on top of there, and then you just take the screws that are on the underside and secure it together. And this is basically how we prepare this thing before we go in the car. Now, when this is all put together, we're gonna set this in position in the car itself. Now, this is tie strapped on here, this shift boot retainer, so I'm actually able to turn this. I can barely do it with one hand, but you can see it's turning a little bit, but there's threads right there, and these threads need to go on top of the shifter, so just thread it as much as you can, and then it'll expose more threads, and that's where the shift knob will go into position. So we're gonna go ahead, mount the rear portion to the front portion, and we'll be able to install this in the car. So let's go ahead and get started. 2 steps before going ahead and put the center console in. Step number 1, you might want to put some more grease here on the shifter assembly itself. Who knows how long the shifter assembly was last greased, so go ahead and, you know, just put some grease down there because this is, you know, constant moving parts. And the second step is all these wire extensions that we made for the reverse lights. Go ahead and kind of unravel it and then kind of route it underneath the carpet right here, and you can kind of store it right here for easier access. But, you know, you leave it right here, you're not going to be able to get to it when you need to pull this back into the engine bay. So we'll go ahead and take those 2 steps before we put this center console back in position. Okay, this was quite a process reinstalling the center console. I thought it would just slip right in with the parking brake in the up position. That wasn't the case. I've got this armrest here on the driver's side, and that was inhibiting me from making the correct angle to put this console in place. So essentially what I did is I had to remove this entire driver's seat, and then I had to piece this thing together. So there's no sense in assembling both front and rear pieces while it's out of the car, because I basically had to put this in position first, and then put this in position, and then had to elevate this a little bit with the parking brake in full up position, and then get a stubby Phillips head screwdriver and put those 3 screws that attach this consoles together. So it was a little bit tough, but I managed to do it. It took me, I don't know, about 30 minutes to do this. Thought this thing would slide in 5 minutes, but not the case. But everything looks good. All the screws are in position. The shift boot looks great with the retainer. So once the shift knob comes in, I'll be able to attach that right there. So things are starting to take shape on this interior right here for the 5-speed conversion. So just one more variable missing, the shift knob. We'll get that thing installed as soon as it comes in the mail. All right, guys, looks like I got the final piece of the puzzle to the center console. This is the custom shift knob that was special ordered. And this is a 55mm stainless steel ball that was custom powder coated in prismatic powders, bronze chrome. As you can see, there's a lot of metallic flake on there. And in addition to that, there's a nice clear coat on top of that, so it'll have some longevity with this finish on top of this. I believe this is going to match the custom wheels that we've got planned for the CB9 as well. So I'm looking forward to installing this. So let's go ahead and install this on CB9. Okay guys, here's our assembled center console. As you can see, we've got the shift boot and shift boot retainer in place. Now, last piece we got to install is the shift knob. So all you got to do is basically just put in position and turn the threads to the right side, and it'll screw on, as you can see. Now it looks pretty good right there, but I think it's a little too low. As you can see, the shift boot is almost touching the shift knob. So we're gonna raise this up. It's all personal preference. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you how to raise this thing up the proper way. So let's go ahead and take this off, and I'll show you how to space this out. The way to properly space this shift knob is I've got an M10 by 1.5 nylon lock nut, and I'm gonna go ahead and put this on top of the threads here. And I'm gonna use a 17mm wrench to do so. So let's go ahead and install this nut. Okay, that gave about a 1/2 inch space right there to raise it up. I think it looks pretty good. If you want to go a little bit lower, you can also use washers. And I recommend using some removable thread lock on this as well to lock the shift knob in place. So I believe that's looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with the height on that. And I think that's gonna basically be our end result right there. So let me know what you guys think of this. If this bronze shift knob is the right touch for this CB9 wagon, or if you'd like to see something like a titanium knob or something like stainless steel. So just yeah, give me your opinion on this. I'm pretty happy so far, but things are starting to progress on this car. So here's the thread lock I'm talking about. This is the removable kind. All you need is a thin line on the threads and turn it on there and leave it set for a little bit, and it will lock that shift knob right into place. I'm not going to do that quite yet. Who knows if I've got to take this shifter and shift knob apart for some unknown reason, but I'm gonna go ahead and wait till this motor is put back in the car and this car is moving on its own will. So I'll go ahead and wait to put this thread lock in position. Okay, change of plan. I'm not too happy with how high this flange lock nut is. So we're gonna go ahead and change that out with some regular hex nuts. M10 by 1.5 is the thread pitch. As you can see here, how thinner profile this is compared to the sticker flange lock nut. So we're gonna go ahead and remove this flange lock nut, replace it. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, guys, this concludes the final installment of all the interior aspects of the 5-speed conversion on Project CB9. We've got the center console installed along with the new shift boot and shift knob. If you guys like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Have a great day.